If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
This is MINDSHOCK True Crime. You are listening to the Steven Avery series. We're on episode 10, getting to double digits in this very, very mind-boggling, mind-shocking frame-up job. Is this the most obvious frame-up job by a department in history? What do you guys think?
Probably the most well-known.
It's the only one I know about.
What about the 85? What about 1985?
Which is all frame
the
up.
one that actually was.
Yeah,
Well,
all frame-up
both
jobs
were,
just happen on Steven Avery.
So this is so-called evidence 2. We are going over the alleged evidence against Avery. So from day one, I mean, I still don't really have an opinion because, once again, I'm not saying this happened, but one of my theorized theories is that Manitowoc obviously thinks he's innocent and they framed him, but he's actually guilty because one of his split personalities that he doesn't know about is the one that carried it out. Johnny thinks it was a clone to explain the...
I ain't got no opinions. Then people start getting stupid on it.
There's a lot of jokers out there.
Joker 88.
Oh, man.
We might get thrown a beating for making this.
We gotta laugh a little more annoying so it pierces their ears.
Oh, man.
Is that in your laugh? All right, so yeah, we're gonna be going over more of the evidence. All right. So once again, did I say this is Bruce McGuire? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I am your host, Bruce McGuire.
And Maxwell Powers.
And Johnny Mills.
And if you like our podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like the video, hit like. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to make some joking comments about throwing people beatings, that is entertaining as well. So feel free to do so. And you could also check us out on social media, Reddit, Patreon,
Twitter.
and Twitter. How'd I forget Twitter? And then, yeah, make sure you like our Facebook page as well. Okay, so we discussed the legend of the bonfire in the previous episode and how the legend grew with time.
The making of arson.
Oh, you remembered something, Maxwell? Whoa, whoa, this podcast is a changing. Can you imagine if Maxwell remembered everything perfectly?
It wouldn't be my shot.
It'd be less mind-shocking. All right, so we're going to look at Kuss Road today. So Kuss Road is...
People do a lot of cussing on that road. Cuss.
So Redant's is adjacent to Avery's. So we are looking... So technically, it's to the west of the Avery Salvage Yard. And to the west of that is Kuss Road. So Kuss Road kind of is the part of the perimeter of the Redant property. So early on in the investigation, something that gets thrown under the rug for some reason are the dog hits on Kuss Road. There was an investigation on Kuss Road. So it's also on record that these alerts occurred on Kuss Road. So I don't know why nobody's talking about this.
Dogs are pretty reliable, right?
Up to 95, actually up to 98%, depending on the specific experiment. There's a lot of studies that show they're, between 95 and 98% reliable. Depending on the conditions, that reliability can drop somewhat, but on average, they are very, very reliable.
Yeah, because I remember on an older podcast, we were talking about how they could smell through water.
Yeah, through water, concrete,
Yeah.
I mean,
8 feet of concrete or something like that.
and decades later... Close to a
crazy.
century later. I mean, obviously the reliability drops, but also like the temperature conditions, the environment. There's a lot of factors, and obviously how well they're trained and everything. So dog hits, pretty reliable. People's words, not so much. So I don't know why there are people out there that just take on blind faith and gobble up the BS propaganda spouted by these proven liars, and yet they're willing to immediately dismiss dog hit. It's just kind of weird.
For the trial, though, they kind of dismissed all the dog stuff. I
So,
don't remember
quote, there was not only that, but there was another excavation site with bones found near Kuss Road, and it was, quote, not pertinent to this case, end quote.
Was that the pelvic bone? Is that where they found that?
There were some bones. We're going to get into exactly what was found where. And it's very interesting. How did they determine it wasn't pertinent, and why did they expect everybody to take their word at it? You know what I mean? Like, let's say it's not pertinent. Wouldn't you, don't you want proof it's not pertinent? Because if you're just mixing remains and barrels, we don't even know whose remains these are. Yeah. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean...
What do you think, Maxwell? You actually watched this documentary. You should know something about this case. What do you think about the Kuss Road, the other remains? Like, what's going on with Kuss Road?
I don't know what's going on with Kuss Road.
Do you know what's going on with anything?
It's like the bones were everywhere. It's like Steven Avery burned her up and just started running around and
some
just,
of the...
throwing bones around.
Well, what would a genius do? Isn't that typical genius activity?
He's like, I got the perfect idea. I'm going to hop on Kuss Road.
I actually heard a very interesting theory. I might as well come out with it now. So something happened. So on the Manitowoc property where some of the remains were found, if they moved it to Avery's from there, so either if these are incompetent police officers, or we have a mix of incompetent and genius, if they're moving the remains from the Manitowoc County property, they're moving it across Redant. Mm-hmm. If they allow it to sprinkle a little bit, they can get his cooperation. Say, oh, we actually found out maybe you did it. Maybe you did. If you get out of line, you're going in with Avery and Dassey. So, or if they didn't want to risk getting caught themselves spreading it, if they had the ex-boyfriend, the roommate, Mike Halbach, whoever else was involved, or people we don't know about, if they're framing Avery, but they don't know exactly where he lives, they couldn't chance to put the remains just in one of the burn barrels. They put it in, they wanted to spread it around the trailers, both Avery's and Janda's. That way they know for sure they could at least get one of them. So if Manitowoc is responsible and they hired out the frame-up job a little bit, and
That's
some
funny.
of these
So
locals,
they have this bag of bones, and they're like, wait,
they're dropping it all over the place coming from Manitowoc.
Is it this house or this one?
Let's just
I'll
put it
just put
both.
one in.
Yeah.
It's around Halloween time, right? It's probably
Yeah.
like fake Halloween bones from the store or something.
Well, they weren't discovered. Well,
They didn't even actually test to see if they were human bones. Nah, they did though, right?
did
They,
they?
they know it's human bone, right? Or it could be animal, right?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Who switched what in the lab?
Yeah.
Because you're right. We have no idea what was recovered on site because none of it was documented. I mean, I guess that
Yeah, no photos were taken. and
video.
stuff,
Well,
yeah.
supposedly they were, but they were never released because there were witnesses who said they were filming and they took pictures, but we don't have any of them. So, and they were never presented at trial. So, we don't have any evidence of what it was recovered on site. On site, maybe it was animal bones. We got no clue. In the lab, something happened. Something was sent to the FBI. We have no clue. Something was sent to the FBI. The FBI came back. Teresa Halbach cannot be excluded. I don't know how that means it's her, and especially with the pool of contributors to the genetic testing, to the DNA testing, the contributors are so small that the chance that it could be somebody else, that's not conclusive. So hopefully Zellner's allowed to do the new DNA tests, which are actually much more accurate. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but it's would have at least something to go on as opposed to this DNA test. If you haven't checked out our DNA for Dummies episodes, check those out. We go into quite a few details on how DNA testing is done and what it really means. So that way you don't have to take on blind faith the words of proven liars or just people who are honest that are giving information that's not true. A lot of different scenarios. Doesn't have to be intentionally complicit people. So back to Kuss Road. So it wasn't just one dog that got the hit there. So just quick aside to the Maura Murray case, John Smith's recent findings where this location had 2 dog hits. So if a dog is 95 to 98% reliable, if you have 2 separate dogs or 3 or 4, I mean, you're increasing because that means that dog is less likely to have made a mistake. So I believe it was 2 or 3 dogs that alerted.
This is for Avery?
Kuss Road, yes.
Okay.
So now we're talking, Kuss Road, 2 or 3 dogs, not 1. So is it possible it was a complete false alert? Obviously, it's still a theoretical possibility, but when you get beyond 1 dog, those chances diminish. Now, again, that doesn't mean it was Teresa Halbach.
Yeah, it's just somebody, right?
But I don't know. Like, we're gonna get into future episodes of other crimes committed in that area. If people are killing people all over the place and leaving their remains, that could be somebody else. But something weird. The dog's alerted at Kuss Road, and that's a little bit more reliable than randomly planted and discovered evidence, in my opinion, just based on statistics of dog reliability. So Zellner, in her June 7th, 2017 post-conviction motion, she actually does refer to these alerts, and she claims that trial defense counsel failed to investigate the evidence of a possible burial site. This is from pages 144 to 146. And this site was 500 yards west of Mr. Avery's residence, south of the Kuss Road cul-de-sac. So Avery's trailer is right there.
Yeah. And
Kuss Road's down here, and the deer camp trailers are here. So the deer camp is in between Avery's trailer and Kuss Road.
But they only found bones like here, right? And then on his property. And at the deer the Manitowoc County yard.
By the way, this is a map of the dog scent on the perimeter, which would suggest that somebody put the remains in a vehicle and drove them around. Because look at how it's over the perimeter. Check that out, Maxwell. So some of the scents were stronger than others, so they were judging the dog.
the red is the dog pattern?
So it's some of them are strong scent, less strong. But you see how it's not cut. The dog wasn't tracking through the middle of the property. It was tracking on the perimeter.
Yeah.
So some people think that's how they
Like on
put
the
the
road.
RAV4, like they put the remains in the RAV4 or another vehicle, drove it around, or whatever it was. That was what the dogs tracked, which is kind of suspicious.
When was the dog?
Within days. They did this within days.
So all these
Yeah, I'll go
these
through the
ashes
exact
were
details in a
coming
moment.
out or whatever.
So human remains detection dogs, so they give alerts on human tissue and fluids. So obviously not necessary. I mean, it could be a bunch of different things. That's why they're so accurate, because it's not like they only detect bone or they only detect fluid. They're very, very accurate. So they indicated that there was presence of human remains at this alleged site near Kuss Road.
So they only found the bones because of the dogs? Do you know?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
In that spot.
Yeah.
And possibly the Manitowoc gravel, right? Yeah, because otherwise they wouldn't have found it. Yeah, I
'cause
believe that's all related to the dog track.
Yeah, because on his property, I don't think they used the
No.
dog. They just looked in.
It was a guy that didn't see it before, and we're going to go into that as well. It was kind of like the key in the bedroom, like the seventh search is like, oh, how do we miss that? How did I miss that? While sitting on Avery's bed.
Playing with his
But why
handcuffs.
would they even be sitting on the? I mean, that's evidence.
I know, it's weird.
They're like lounging in his
and
bedroom,
supposedly they slashed her up in the bedroom, right?
and
they
they're
had to
just
clean her
lounging
up.
around on the bed that she got slashed up on. That's kind of weird. Would you lounge around in a bed where somebody allegedly got murdered on? Would you, Maxwell?
He probably like went in the bed under the covers.
Took a little nap. You guys
Wake me up once you find that key.
Oh man.
That's messed up.
Oh, dude.
Wait, that's the same bedroom? I thought it was a.
Yeah, that was the same.
So yes,
thing.
Zellner, you're okay. So let's go back to what Zellner is saying. So Zellner also details none of the dogs alerted on or near Avery's burn pit.
Wow.
a big
Not
tell.
even Brutus, who has quote an extremely low false negative rate and very rarely has missed a source during his years as a cadaver dog. End quote.
Damn, that's nuts.
So that's supposedly a very good dog, very well-trained dog, an expert dog, if you will. Is that mind-shocking?
Did they bring that up?
Zellner. No, Zellner brought this up.
Oh,
So again, none of the... I don't know why nobody's talking about this. The first trial was kind of a farce.
How come that wasn't
There's
brought
even
up?
there's even conspiracy theories that Buting, Strang and Buting
paid off.
were in, not paid off, but they were in on some kind of conspiracy. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they're alleging that they wanted Avery to be locked up.
Yeah.
There was just weirdness, and they have connections to certain people. We're going to go into that in a few
Suppression.
episodes.
Whatever. His
some
Oh, the
guy-
first guy. Oh, yeah, the first guy.
that guy sucked.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
basically
that's
just
He
said,
didn't even
say
show
you're
up.
guilty.
He didn't even show up.
Oh, for Dassey?
Like half the time, yeah.
Yeah.
God, he told him to like just like write that you killed her, basically, and draw how you killed her.
You know what's messed up though? He knows who he's talking to also, because like this is not like this is some high school kid that just wants to watch WrestleMania. He wants to watch WrestleMania. He doesn't know what's going on here. So yeah, very, very interesting. So again, do you guys? What would you put stock in? People's words. Who there's a $36 million lawsuit, or a dog who doesn't know about the lawsuit.
With a track record of...
With an excellent track record, Mr. Brutus.
They manipulated
I'll
the
trust
dogs,
the dog.
too.
Yeah, because the dog doesn't know about the $36 million lawsuit. So they couldn't be in on the plant thing.
Yeah.
They're just doing their job and finding remains, and they did not hit on the burn pit. What do you think of
that's
that?
Very interesting.
That is very interesting.
So the two lawyers didn't bring that up?
I don't know. I haven't looked through every single word of the transcript in the trial. I don't see it. Zellner brings
I
it up.
I don't remember them bringing it up, so like
I don't
guess
remember it
they
either.
didn't.
No.
Zellner's on the case, though.
Zellner's doing all right. But she's getting her butt kicked.
So, yeah,
though,
you're right.
Like,
The
she's not
sk-
getting any new tests, right? Or
Well,
Possibly
we
soon, but-
discussed this. The
Yeah,
appellate
yeah.
court rejected
Yeah.
hearing that. They didn't reject the ability of her to test. I don't know if that's approved yet, though, but it wasn't specifically. They didn't specifically say she couldn't.
yeah.
So there's still hope. But I mean, she's smart. Like, so if they say that she can't, like how could they say that? Because if it's an up and up investigation, why would they say she? Like, it's kind of weird. So I know, and she knows that too, which is
Yeah.
probably why they're dragging their feet, because they can't say no. They don't want to say yes. 'Cause the proof. So they're trying to. I guess they're trying to find some kind of weird technicality
Yeah.
to make it look like they're not guilty, even though it already looks bad. So yeah, the skeleton remains were discovered a few days after the Kuss Road hits. Is when the so-called skeletal remains were discovered in Avery's so-called burn pit, or so-called active at the time burn pit. So this was, yes, a member of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. So does a Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department officer have better at detecting human remains than the dog trained to do so? What do you guys think? You know what's strange though? What's strange is that people are saying, "Oh, they're so like they found the remains in his burn pit. He obviously killed her in his bedroom. Then he went and killed her again in the garage, and then and then he just left. Then he just left the vehicle on his own property, right next to the car crusher." Making a genius. So
With the branches, too.
but so what's weird is, like, how do you discount, like, you're just not going to consider the fact that the dogs hit on remains at the Kuss Road site, the fact that they didn't on his burn pit. Like, where are you going to fit that? You're just going to ignore that. You're going to sweep it under the rug and be like, Avery's guilty. Guilty.
Yeah, it's like, it sucks because, like, the blood and all that stuff that they found, the car, it's like, okay, it's not only the bones, you got blood, you got car.
Yeah, but we addressed all that.
No, I know that.
They
but
said in the transcript that it was transfer DNA. So someone went to Avery's vehicle, didn't change their gloves. The guy admitted it. He admitted, like, it's not even. That's why I'm saying it's kind of an obvious. Because I guess again, that points to that guy not being in on it. Maybe. I don't know, that the CSI tech, the CSI tech, he didn't change his gloves, so that's how the hood transfer DNA got there. As far as the blood on the interior, again, I even put the Q-tip theory where it was smeared, but somehow magically there's no fingerprints. So, like, I mean, that's not real. That's not logical evidence. It's like a plant job.
if it's presented in the right way, like that.
Well, yeah, if
big
nobody-
Kratz, so
Well-
then people believe it. Yeah.
Well, but now that we're re-examining, I'm talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
upon re-examination, because there's people out there. I guess they're relatives of Manitowoc. I
Man,
don't know.
That dog scent is like that's big.
That's damning. Yeah, that's big.
That's huge.
What would happen
And
Yeah,
even if
I
it's not
can't even
Halbach,
imagine-
here's what's so messed up. Even if it's not Halbach, they're not gonna investigate human remains. Like, they're the sheriff's department. Like, that's what's so yeah, maybe that has nothing to do. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with this case, but doesn't it need investigation? And then again, how come the dogs are not hitting on Avery's burn pit if there was somebody burned there? That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
They're not gonna hit.
Do you think they could still use those dogs today and like do some kind of test? Like, is
Yeah.
it too?
Well, it
far
depends.
out?
It depends on if they're still. Wait, what do you mean?
Well, I don't
there's
know.
still
They could search like a larger perimeter or something.
Oh,
or,
if other remains are still there, yeah, they could.
like
yeah,
or maybe
Yeah, if
there's
it's
some
still
new
there.
dead bodies there.
And if it was buried, yeah, they would still hit on it. If it was, yeah, they would.
I wonder if they just did it that one time, and just kind of like said, "Hey, whatever."
Were there
Zellner
were there recordings of the dogs hitting?
I don't know. That's interesting.
I never.
There
seen
were
any,
written
but-
reports, though. The reports were there, and Zellner's referencing the
Man, they
reports.
should videotape everything. Put a
They
freaking
should, right?
put a freaking GoPro on the forehead of
Every
the
officer.
dog.
Every
of the
officer.
dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, the dog's an officer. It's a canine officer.
Dog should have a walkie-talkie.
No, I mean,
too, like,
No, because
Good
like,
chat.
because
Yeah,
if you had
so they
if
can
you had a
hear
GoPro on a dog, do you see this fucking dog on the burn pit, motherfucker?
The dog should be mic'd, too, so you get that
Yes.
bark.
two
like,
barks
very
means
distinct.
it's a body. One bark, it's planted.
But Zellner did argue that Strang and Buting did not conduct an adequate...
GoPro sponsor.
Oh, sorry. Strang and Buting, Zellner said that they did... Which I think she's accurate in saying so. They didn't conduct there was no adequate investigation of the possible burial site. And if there was, the trial might have had a different outcome. Because what if she was buried there? That's not Avery's property. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Avery still did it, but at least, like, there would be at least... I mean, all of the entire state's case is so bunk, it's downright hilarious. I mean, it's very unfortunate that two guys are sitting in prison, and it's so tragic. But as far as the actual cover-up, it's almost like comedic in nature because it's so bungled. And it's so strange how some people defend it as there's people out there that defend this entire investigation and the trial. Some of them have even commented on our stuff as legit. And there's like nothing weird about it. Then of course they are out there. I'm guessing I'm guessing they have to be family members of Manitowoc Sheriff Department officers or Ken Kratz.
Well,
Ken Kratz. Well,
well,
now that
the
Ken
whole-
Kratz is
well,
what is
the
Ken
whole
Kratz
hel-
doing now? Nothing, just sitting online.
Well, the Halbach family is pretty much in that position too.
Hallback.
Like, yeah. Oh, Halbach. Sorry.
Hellback.
Wait, what did I say? Halbach.
Hellback.
Oh, Halbach. Halbach.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they're not. They
You
bought
pronounce
into
the ditch?
Well, because they want somebody and they can't choose anyone. So
No, it's kind of weird.
Stephen
we're
Avery
gonna go.
exists in front of them, so therefore.
No, that whole thing. Well, yeah, we're gonna get into the whole Hallback strangeness because it's like they don't. It's like even when they found the RAV4, it's like, oh, we need time to mourn. How do you know she's dead? Like, wouldn't you be clinging to hope? Like, even if you
I
think
know,
she's
that's
dead,
so- wait,
even if
that's
you
messed
think
up.
even if you think she's dead, it's like we hope. I mean, chances aren't good, but we hope beyond hope. Like,
Yeah,
it's your
we
family
hope
member.
she's in a basement somewhere, just kind of like in prison or something like that.
Well, they hope she's still alive. That's
Yeah, that's
always
what
the
I mean,
hope.
like-
But yeah. So let's look at. So we talked about Joshua Radandt's affidavit. What?
Nah, he's laughing.
So this is an excerpt from Zellner's post-conviction relief file, and this affidavit's from Joshua Radandt. So we're going to go over it again. We went over some of this before. So later that week, I received a call from law enforcement on my cell phone. Law enforcement asked me to unlock my 3 hunting trailers so they could be searched. I left work and drove to the hunting camp. When I arrived, there was nobody there. I unlocked my trailers and left. It is my understanding that they were searched by law enforcement and scent tracking dogs. Later that day, law enforcement called my phone again. They informed me that they completed their search and I could use them again normally. During the course of the conversation, law enforcement informed me that they were going to collect the contents of the burn barrel at the hunting camp at a later time. When I returned to camp, they had the area cordoned off surrounding the burn barrel and had officers to watch the burn barrel day and night on a rotating basis until its contents were collected. A few days later, I remember seeing light in the Manitowoc County sand and gravel pit to the south of Redant's property. I remember that the lights appeared to illuminate the entire Manitowoc County pit. So, of course, Zellner is asking for advanced DNA and scientific testing on the pelvic bones found in the burn pile at Redant's quarry. This is property number 8675. And on the burnt material found at Redant's deer camp. And this is property number 7958 and 7953. And this is right off of Kuss Road, which another thing to note is Kuss Road is not used regularly because it's, it's like a back road. It's not a high traffic area. So if you were going to kill somebody, bury them, or plant evidence on Avery's, that those could be areas you'd be going to.
Good to know.
So, August 26, 2016, Zellner wrote in her motion that bones found in Redant's quarry, which included a pelvis, were suspected to be human. This is on Redant's, not Manitowoc County property. State expert Leslie Eisenberg testified that the volume of bones discovered in the burn pit was 2 to 3/5 of what might be expected. Dr. Eisenberg also admitted that the bones had been moved prior to their location in Mr. Avery's burn pit. So this is so tough because so you're sitting in court. It's admitted that the bones were moved. So how can you say they were burned in the burn pit in a fire that nobody saw and didn't exist? So she's saying he's going to burn them somewhere else, then bring them back to his own burn pit. How does that make any sense? I don't get it. Because he kills her in his bedroom, then he takes her to the garage, kills her again in the garage. And then he goes on Kuss Road, kills her there, and then he brings her back to his, and then he burns her there, then he brings the remains back to his own burn pit for what? I don't get it.
Making a genius.
Set himself up.
But why not just put him in the? If his goal is to set himself up, why not just burn the bones there and leave them there? Like he's got nothing better to do with all his extra work. Like why? So if his split personality is trying to get his other personality in prison by committing this crime, which is more logical than anything else Manitowoc has put forth, that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, he had internal conflicts. I don't know. Like the other personality was kind of fighting with the other personality.
Yeah, but that's fine. He still wouldn't. Like, why would he go burn her on Redant's? Then bring it back,
Making of a genius.
So Dr. Eisenberg testified that she suspected that the bones found in Redant's quarry, which included a pelvis, were human. So I guess she can't tell between the difference between like a deer pelvis and a human pelvis. I don't know. So Zellner, in a press conference, August 26, 2016, said that only 30% of the bones were recovered and 29 of the teeth were never recovered.
How many teeth we got? 30?
I don't remember any teeth.
Well, remember we went over this. It was the teeth, the root of the tooth, which can't even be used for identification. So the whole tooth situation is beyond bizarre.
Wait, you said they found...
Supposedly, they said they did identification by teeth, but supposedly that can't be true because they didn't find the teeth. So they would only find teeth fragments. So what kind of fragments? You're talking root fragments, and how can you identify somebody by a root fragment? We went over this in previous episodes. So we have 32 teeth.
32?
So there were, I guess there were fragments from 3 teeth only?
I only have 1 tooth.
Wait, what?
I got 1 tooth. Nobody knows. Like, I got 1 tooth.
You got them all knocked out?
Yeah.
So why don't you speak with more of a lisp? Or are those fake teeth? Are all your teeth fake, Johnny?
I got my dentures and I'm 75.
Uh-oh. Johnny just revealed his age. How old are you, Maxwell? We know you've been divorced, but what age group does that put you in?
Senior citizen.
In World War II, right?
Yeah.
You were in World War II? I didn't even know that.
Oh, man.
Wait, how old would that make you?
World War
Have
II,
you been in
that'd
like
be
some kind of
80.
weird anti-aging therapy?
85.
You're 85? You look a lot younger, man.
I've been drinking apple cider.
I thought you were gonna stop at I've been drinking. Usually that doesn't make you look younger. It makes you look older. All right, so they have 29 of the 32 were not recovered, and of the 3 teeth fragments they have, it seems like they're not the complete teeth to make a match anyway. They're roots, and it was never really gone into on how they were identified. Let's go over some basic math for dummies. Burning for dummies. Burning temps for dummies. So burn barrel temperatures usually do not exceed 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, because it's in a burn barrel. So even if it's a little higher, let's say even double. Let's double it. Let's say 1,000. But so 500 to 1,000. So a cremation at optimum temperature occurs between 1,400 and 1,800 degrees.
Cremation is like literally dust, though, right? Or powder.
Well, the
you could smoke
cremains
it.
of Teresa Halbach were consistent They said they were cremains, like cremated remains.
Okay.
So we're talking, you would need quite a substantial temperature.
Yeah, because that guy in that Tupac podcast we did, he said he smoked Tupac.
Oh, yeah.
put
Well,
a
they said it
little
wasn't Tupac's.
I know,
They
but he smoked somebody's bones.
Yeah.
So I guess it's
right
small
after
enough.
Tupac's was cremated.
Yeah.
So he smoked somebody else's bones right after Tupac was cremated, somebody else's remains. But yeah, so I mean, it's dust-ish.
Dust-ish, okay.
Yeah, cremains. That's what the Teresa Halbach cremains. That's what it's called. So, and the average, it takes 2 to 2.5 hours at 1,400 to 1,800 degrees.
It has to be at that temperature.
Optimum. It doesn't have to be. It could
Yeah.
be lower, but then the lower you go, the longer it has to burn.
Uh-huh.
Can you go at 500 and do it for a longer period and have the same result? Or
I mean, it would probably have to be a really long period. I mean, I haven't seen the test done on it, but it would have to be substantially longer.
and also you have to keep refueling it. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, because like a barbecue, that can go up to 500 degrees. So just going back to that whole idea I had a while back on a podcast, like with like a piece of chicken. It takes a long time for it to burn.
Very,
especially through the
very
bone
long.
fragments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and obviously it would take more for human remains because they're much
there's a
bigger.
lot more.
It'd be a lot more. And so regarding the teeth, so teeth are made out of calcium and calcium orthophosphate. The melting point of calcium is 1,540 degrees Fahrenheit
So it has to hit that temperature.
to start melting. Yeah.
And this was
And
done-
that's not for a second. Like
and-
it would have to be for substantial. It'd have to be hotter if you really want to.
right.
You know,
right.
that's the melting
And this
point.
is
So when
October
it starts to melt.
31st. It must have been. What was the weather like? I don't know. Maybe it might have been cold.
It was pretty
It
cold.
was probably
yeah.
cold, yeah.
We're talking
up there.
Michigan.
Like
yeah.
35 or something, or at least.
Could probably. I'll check right now.
Yeah, check it.
October 31st, 2005.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so crazy that you could check all this stuff. No data recorded.
It's a conspiracy.
Oh, wait, no, it has something, but why does it keep? Okay, here we go. It says it rained on October 31st in Manitowoc. And then somebody else said there was no rain.
I mean, here's a post I found. If one's outdoor burn pit is damp from rain, or if it's actively raining, and one does not use tires or accelerants, of which the residue and/or scent would be noticeable by a trained forensic anthropologist, how does one cremate a body to the point where the majority of bones and teeth cease to exist?
TikTok, Manitowoc. Yeah. If it's like wet, the wood, like or whatever you have burning, like it's a little harder to burn unless you do have that fire, gas.
All right, I found it. So on the 31st, the high was 58, low 44. So we're looking at, it actually wasn't that cold.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the afternoon,
That was really warm, actually. I mean, it's colder.
Yeah, I just figured it'd be colder up there since
Yeah.
it's like right there by Canada too.
That's a really warm 30.
yeah, another weather station said low was 39, high was 55. But we're looking at closer as night falls. I mean, we're not looking at 50s. It would have been 40s. It would probably been like low 40s, something like that.
Yep. Wait, why did we get into that?
Because Maxwell asked,
Yeah.
what does that give you, Maxwell?
What do you mean?
Now that you know the outdoor temperature, what does that change?
It takes if it was like 10 degrees out
Well,
it
we
would-
knew it wasn't 10 though.
or 20.
Okay.
It makes I don't know. I'm just curious. Like I don't,
All right,
I don't know
the
how
melting
much
point.
different.
So the melting point of calcium is 1,540 degrees. The melting point of calcium orthophosphate is 1,670 degrees. So you would need to exceed that melting point in order to burn your teeth down to nothing or near nothing.
And
So
there's no way they could achieve that. in
So the trial testimony of Dr. Eisenberg starts on page 114, so from 166. Question, I have a few questions here to conclude. Before I do, Doctor, you mentioned something about the concept of postcranial remains and having described them as below the head. What other postcranial remains were you able to identify as coming from the area behind the garage that we've been referring to as the burn pit? Answer, I would say that virtually every part of the skeleton, obviously there were no entire bones that were found, but at least a fragment or more of almost every bone below the neck was recovered in the burn pit. One bone that's conspicuously absent are the left and right kneecaps, for example, but that is not surprising to me given that those bones were made up almost exclusively of that honeycomb, very fragile bone that would expect not to survive a burning episode. So it's not surprising to me that I've not found evidence of the kneecaps, but virtually every other bone below the neck I found evidence for. This is the trial testimony of Donald Simley, the forensic odontologist. Starts on page 59. Question. And overall, approximately how many items were you asked to identify approximately? There were 52 items of potential evidence. And what did these items consist of? Of the 52 items, there were 24 dental fragments that I was asked to look at. Of the 52. Sometimes when you have a burned piece of wood, it may look like a burnt piece of tooth because there wasn't a whole tooth, as we can visualize, that the crowns of the teeth had been destroyed. So when I was asked to look at the 52 pieces, there were 24 that were actual tooth fragments. Not a whole tooth, but 24 tooth fragments. There were 3 bone fragments, all from the lower jaw, and there were 24 pieces of wood. And then there was 1 piece of plastic that looked like a crown of a tooth, but when we were able to clean it up, we were easily to tell it was a piece of plastic. So the melting point of plastic is 338 degrees. Just for reference. So somebody put the pieces of plastic in after the burning?
To make it look like a tooth? Is that what you said?
I don't know. And the cheaper plastics, the melting point can be as low as 212. So between 212 and 338 degrees. So
as the fire was going down, they throw all these things in.
But the plastic wouldn't survive because in order to get these kinds of cremains, you'd have to be way over 1,000 in temperature. A typical burning barrel is about 500. So you can get that higher using whatever accelerants or whatnot, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a burn barrel expert, but if the typical temperature is 500, there's only going to be so much hotter you can burn it. It just doesn't, you can't really go that much higher. So, I mean, I guess Avery's now the greatest genius arsonist too, because he can burn teeth and not burn plastic in the same fire. I mean, he should start a magic show. The things that Avery can do that nobody else can do.
Could be a Broadway show.
He can completely bleach a garage and then put years of dust and grime and deer speck DNA back, but no other DNA at all. Not his own, not anybody that's been in that old dusty moldy garage. Kind of weird. So the bones were, so this is from Zellner. The bones were moved. That was admitted. There was a human pelvis found over in the quarry. The bones were in different spots. The body was not burned whole. It's not possible to do that. So you've got the same bone in 3 different places. You've got only 30% of the bones recovered. You have 29 of the teeth never recovered. The bones look like they were planted. The property was closed down. The coroner from Manitowoc was not allowed on the property and actually was not notified it was a murder. That violates the Wisconsin statute. I wonder why. Do you think Zellner's going to pursue criminal action against Manitowoc officials, or do you think she's just going to accept the exonerations? Or do you think that exonerations aren't going to be enough and she's going to go after all these people?
I mean, she should. Is
What do
it
you
up
think?
to Avery, though?
I don't
Like,
think
does
so
he-
because hold on, if it has nothing to do with Avery, because if there's
true.
Manitowoc statute and they're not informing their own coroner, so that's this specific issue. I mean, what they did against Avery would be up to Avery. I believe it'd be up to Avery.
So, like,
He might
let's
not.
say he gets out. He didn't do it. Somehow they figure that out. And then what? There's like a whole nother court process where he can sue them again.
I think he would, because if he's going after him for his wrongful, he still needs to be reimbursed for his 85.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that whole thing is really strange too. We have to do a dedicated episode on that, but they technically still owe him for that because that settlement was really weird, and there was
They
also
just
some
did the 400K.
Yeah, there's a lot of shadiness about that. We'll have to go into that as well. Okay, let's get back to Eisenberg.
So she wouldn't be handling that, right? That whole suing process.
I don't believe so.
It would be like something completely different, right?
Because her thing is, well, actually, I don't know. Her thing's exonerations. I mean, maybe she would. I don't know.
It'd be funny if that what is that thing that he was part of? They come back because they took him off of it, right?
Did
they took him off because he got convicted for this new thing.
But that has nothing to do with the other thing.
I know, but because he was like on the front page of the website.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if it's like, oh yeah, you could be on it again now just because.
That'd be I wonder what he would think about that.
He's probably. Oh my god, dude, I hate everybody.
You know what's weird though? Like, he actually, given everything that's happened to him, he still doesn't seem that worn. I mean, I'm sure he's worn down, but he still seems like, I don't want to say happy, but he's still in good spirits here and there. Like, if this happened to
by the first time.
he has practice at being wrongfully imprisoned. But also his conviction in
He's
saying,
got 18 years experience, right?
when he's like, I'd rather sit here my whole life
Yeah.
than say I did something I didn't do. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Wait, so how long has he been in there now?
Since 2005.
5? So is that 14 years?
So
I don't
14
know
plus
math.
18?
So I guess it's like 13 something.
Well, wait, how many years
Wait,
did he do last time? He did
yeah,
like
18, right? Or he was supposed to do 8. No, he was supposed to do like life, right?
No, he
32.
no,
32.
Oh yeah, 32 for
Something like that.
but he only did 8 or 18.
18. I
forget.
think it was 18.
Wait, 84?
84 to 2003.
I thought it was 85. Oh, well, he was in. Yeah, he wasn't out on bail, so 80. Was it 85?
It was 85.
Yeah.
85 to 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, 18. So he did 18.
Jeez.
Then as soon as he gets out, he's out for 2 years ish.
And then back in
Yeah.
for life.
Damn, that sucks. It's horrible. All right, so in episode 6, Making a Murder, at 35 minutes, Dr. Eisenberg says that she suspected that a couple of bone fragments from the quarry site, quote, appeared to be, end quote, from a human pelvis. Now, once again, going back to facts and assumptions, does appeared to be, is that a definitive fact, Maxwell?
Of course not.
And even if it was, is that a definitive fact that that pelvis is Teresa Halbach's? I mean, we're stacking assumptions on top of assumptions here.
Yeah.
That's all they said. It's appeared.
That's not
to
all,
be-
but I don't see, there's nothing conclusive it 100% was. We have appeared to be. So in the documentary, Eisenberg states there were no entire bones that were found, but at least a fragment or more of almost every bone below the neck was recovered in that burn pit. Did you find evidence of any human bone identified as being collected from a site other than the burn pit behind the defendant's garage? Eisenberg replied, human bone was also collected from what was designated burn barrel number 2. Also, keep in mind, there was a burn barrel at the deer camp as well, at Redant. So who's to stop, again, if Manitowoc is doing a frame-up, they have all these barrels, they could just switch the numbers. They could switch which barrels which remains were found where. How would anybody know? Because once they get to the lab and they send it to FBI or wherever, they're like, oh, this came from this. Yeah. How does anybody know that? How can that be verified? Is that a fact, Maxwell?
No fact.
we don't talk facts here.
Is that Maxwell's new mug? No fact.
No facts. FAX.
Did you offer an opinion that you believe the location for the primary burning episode was the burn pit behind the defendant's garage? Is that correct? That is correct. Strang asked, was there was a third site? Was there not? Yes. And this would be the quarry pile. Yes, sir. You found in the material from the quarry pile 2 fragments that appeared to you to be pelvic bone. Eisenberg states that's correct. You suspected them of being human pelvic bone. That's correct. The charring and calcined condition that you saw was essentially consistent with the charring and the calcined condition in the Janda burn barrel and behind Steven Avery's garage. Eisenberg says that is correct, sir. Nowhere did you find evidence that you were looking at bone fragments from more than one body. That is correct, sir. So what you conclude is that by human agency, bone fragments here were moved. Some bone fragments identified as human bones had been moved. That's correct. All right. So, oh man. So all these bones are moved. We got transfer DNA. We got keys being weirdly recovered. Does any of this case add up? Do we have a single piece of evidence that stands under scrutiny? Maxwell, is there a single piece of evidence against Avery? Do you see any evidence, concrete evidence against Avery, Johnny?
Yeah, the car's on his property. They found his blood in the car. They found the bones in his barn pit.
I'm talking about concrete.
The key was in his house.
The spare key that nobody used from Halbach's apartment.
He had the handcuffs. With the little fuzzies.
with nobody's DNA in it. The fuzzies were from his sister, from Janda's, right? He had the one without the fuzzies. Come on, get your facts straight, Johnny. To fuzz or not to fuzz?
No
That is
fuzz.
the handcuff question. What were your ex-wife's handcuffs, Maxwell?
Oh man.
Were they fuzzy?
Pink fuzzy. Yeah.
Just like Janda. Is your ex-wife Janda?
Ooh,
Scott
man.
Tadich. He's gonna
Tadic.
Tadich.
Tad Dyke?
He's gonna call you up and leave you some nasty messages.
Oh jeez.
They're not even together anymore, right?
They aren't.
They
I
divorced.
think they are. They did.
Wait, what? I thought they
Uh,
weren't together anymore. I don't know. All right,
Never
so
know.
let's look at what other anthropologists had to say about this. Human pelvis bones are very unique due to our upright posture. I'd have to see the fragments, but from her testimony, it sounded like large-ish pieces. It would be very difficult to mistake non-human pelvic bones for human. Anthropologists who do bone stuff like paleoanthro type folks can be like bone savants. I know a guy whose specialty is determining what kind of ancient animal left a particular bone fragment in a particular layer of dirt from spots around Africa, and he's damn good at it. I expect forensic anthropologists to be able to identify human pelvic bones as human with near 100% accuracy. So this particular anthropologist is claiming that Eisenberg is partially incompetent or completely incompetent. I don't know what his exact claim is, but he's saying an expert, a forensic anthropologist is an expert and would have no difficulty in determining whether pelvic bones are human or not.
Isn't there a bunch of tests you could do on it too?
Well, where are they?
I know. Like, can't you just like do some DNA tests or
Who's
something?
saying it would? They would
Another
not have it-
anthropologist just chimed in with their opinion.
Okay.
That any legitimate expert anthropologist, a forensic
Just by looking
anthropologist,
at it.
should have no. He said near 100% accuracy.
And what was who was saying that it was a human?
Eisenberg said that it appeared to be consistent with. She did not say.
That's messed up.
She didn't say I'm 99% sure, or it's I'm a forensic anthropologist. These are human pelvic bones, unless it was like a mutated deer or something. You could leave yourself out. He said near 100% accuracy. Not obviously 100% is tough, but I mean there should be really no question. So I don't know. So here's what
That's
Zellner wrote that Sergeant Andrew Colburn. Remember Colburn? Does that sound familiar, Maxwell?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Colburn. Colburn. That's the. Well, I know he's one of the cops, but like I forget. Oh wait, he's the one that
He's the one
he
with the
was at
glasses.
he was at the grocery store or something. And
Yeah,
someone,
he's
and so
right.
someone,
Yeah,
someone,
that was a
someone
crazy
told
story.
him. Someone told him, "Oh yeah, the Rav4 is over there," and then, he
called-
went over there, and then
called
that's
in,
when he
the
supposedly
plate.
called
Okay,
in or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Okay,
That was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
messed up one.
Yeah, that was.
All right, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that actually, but Andy Coburn discovered Teresa's RAV4 on November 3rd, at which time it was seized by Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Then on November 4th, after the flyover, it was moved from Redant's quarry to the Avery property using the conveyor road. This is what Zellner's stating.
Say that again. Move what? The
Well, I'll
car?
give you the whole thing here. So, on November 3rd, 2005, Officer Coburn discovered the victim's vehicle and called dispatch on a personal line to confirm the victim's license plate number. On November 3rd, 2005, according to the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department reports, Miss Halbach's vehicle was seized. Miss Halbach's vehicle was moved to the southeast corner of the Avery property on the evening of November 4th. 2005, after Calumet County Sheriff Jerry Pagel and investigator Wendy Baldwin conducted a flyover of the Avery Salvage Yard. Ms. Halbach's vehicle was moved from the Fred Redant's Sons Inc. quarry to the Avery property using the conveyor road that led onto the Avery property.
That's
from
Zellner's
the
theory.
quarry. That's
That's what
what
she-
Zellner is writing. So, keep in mind, 8 p.m. November 4th, Chuck Avery saw headlights in the area where the RAV4 would be found the next morning. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
So, here is the alleged path that the RAV4 could have taken. So and we're going to go into flyover images and all that stuff, but Zellner is alleging that the RAV4 could have been moved from Redant around, because it was found, the RAV4 was found on this corner of the property, coincidentally, by the road that one would take. You'd have to go in. If you didn't want to be discovered, like, you're not going to travel in.
Yeah.
You're gonna stay on the perimeter, so you quick in, quick out.
Yeah.
So that's her theory. And then, of course, the scent tracking dogs have a very interesting track as well. Track record.
Good old Brutus.
So the red there, so Kuss Road is at the bottom, the very bottom, and the red is where Zellner is alleging that the RAV4 could have been moved to where it was found on Avery's property.
They'd go through all that trouble just to put him in prison, like, because of the first
no
time?
clue.
Like, they made him look stupid? They're
36
like,
mil. What do you think happened?
I mean, yeah, I guess. It's just, damn, this sounds like there's a lot of planning going on.
And then, so the road that would be taken would be, you'd go here, then you'd go around the back road, the conveyor road, and then that goes to where the RAV4 was found. Avery's trailer's here.
I mean, yeah, if it was a setup, they'd have to have her to go to the property. She already went there a bunch of times.
You know what's weird about that? It might not even be a problem, the 36 million, because all I have to do is like raise taxes
Raise taxes for the county or the state or the city or whatever.
or something like that. Or this, I don't know, maybe the state can help out. I don't know.
Well, supposedly it's something to do with like an insurance claim or something, and they don't want to pay for it. They didn't want to pay for it, the insurance company.
Yeah, because if it was wrongdoing on the part of the officers, that's not covered under the insurance. So, okay, so, yeah, we went over a lot of the bone strangeness, the multiple excavation sites, and the Kuss Road dog hits and strangeness there. In the next episode, we'll be going over more into how the RAV4 was moved and from where, as well as digging deeper into even more of this so-called evidence. So far, have you heard anything concrete, Maxwell?
Nope.
Johnny?
Nope.
Me neither. Very, very strange. We're also going to be going over the weird license plate situation as well. So we hope you enjoyed another edition of the MINDSHOCK podcast, MINDSHOCK True Crime of the Steven Avery series. If you like our podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you like the video, hit like. Feel free to share it across whatever social media platforms you use. If you have any comments, questions, or insults you'd like to drop, just drop them in the comments section, and we will get to all of them.
Share it on MySpace.
What about Friendster? Do we have an ICQ number?
Oh, man.
Chat with some of our listeners. So, yeah, make sure you like our Facebook page. You can also check us out on Reddit, Patreon, and Twitter. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Maxwell Powers.
And Johnny Mills. We'll catch you guys next time.